has purpose. Well, at the time, we don't see it.
Like you see the steps from the time I enlisted to the time that I came home. That it wasn't just luck. It was God's provisions for me to learn.
You know, the Lord's not done with us yet.
We want to thank you for coming and being a part of this special service here at Kaysville Bible Church today. We feel that it's very important that we take some time to pause and give honor to those to whom honor is due. These men are men that have served their country, served their homes, and served their church faithfully for many, many years. You see, when these men went to serve their country, they understood that there is a time to stand up for freedom. There's a time to defend that which is right.
So we got there, I guess we got there just about the 9th. We arrived at out on the outer rim of Korea. I was assigned to a reinforcement rifle team, and basically my job was, I actually had a job of supplying the military supplies that they needed. But as an infantry on that rifle team that I was on, we did about once or twice a week, we went out on the excursions to see what was going on around us. We went out in all the mountains there, and up on the hillsides, you had to watch where you were traveling because the Koreans were very good. The North Koreans were very good, and the Chinese especially, of mortar fire. And they put one in front of you, one in back of you, and the third one was beyond you if you're still there. We were over that side of Korea, the east side of Korea, for from November till about mid-April. And we had guys who were able to, young Korean boys who were able to do our laundry because we never could do them because we were always busy doing something. And so we usually paid somebody to do our laundry for us. And this one little Korean boy came to me one day and he says, "Hey, Joe, you take me with you when you go." And I said, "I'm not going anywhere." Yeah, you going? He said, "You going? You take me with you when you go." And I said, "No, I'm not going anywhere." And a couple of days later, I got word to pack up that we're moving over to Seoul because the Marines were moving there to take the place of the Army so that they'd have the reinforcements they needed. So we packed up, and I told him, I said, I didn't know I was going anywhere, but he said, "Well, I can't take you with me."
He said, "You're not," so they said, "We're discharging you from the Air Force, but due to the convenience of the government, you're now in the Army." I said, "Well, gee, yeah, you're scheduled to go overseas." And I said, "Where is that at?" They said, "In the Pacific." "Well, where am I going on the Pacific?" "Well, you're going to be a radar operator." "But I don't know all about radar." "Oh, you'll learn because we're going to teach you." And so I said, "Okay, So I got on the ship from there and we set sail and we got 3 days out in the Gulf of Mexico. And we had a troop of people. And one day we heard general quarters, everybody topside with life jacket. Well, I'm down below D-deck, that's below waterline. And I said, uh-oh, if it's a U-boat attack, forget me, because I'll be the first one to go. So we got on the little ladders, 45 degrees. It took about 45 minutes to get topside. So I was looking around and I seen 20 feet flames coming out of the middle of the ship. So I worked my way over to the end, pushing the guys aside to get over to see what I had to do if I got a bad ship. Well, I looked down there 60 feet, and I said, I can't jump off, because if I don't jump far enough, I'm going to hit the side of the ship and I'm shark meat. Well, I looked at that far and I said, well, I'm not going to do it. I said, I got a life jacket, but I'm not going to do it. I don't see any lifeboats or life rafts in the immediate vicinity. So I said, well, if it's the way it's supposed to go, I'm going to go down with the ship. And I don't know why I said that. That's the way I felt. And I was prepared to face that, And I felt okay about that. And they said if they don't get the fires out within that next 10 minutes, we got to ban ship. They marked that on the PA system. And I just made up my mind that not knowing that God had something for me. I kind of felt in myself and that, well, it's not luck if I get out of this. It's got to be God's provision. So I thought that and things, and I turned around and looked at the smokestack, and it turned from fire to smoke, white smoke. So I knew that they got it out because it was dying down. So I knew they had it under control and everything. Well, I didn't say it was thank the Lord for that, which I should have done. I didn't really. I just felt relieved. But it affected me when I got to where I was going.
I was there for a year, and while I was there, I went out actually on Sundays we had free time. They had chapel service there. And the chaplain was a very good speaker. He was a very good chaplain, and he was very concerned about the troops. And he spent that one particular Sunday, I can't remember exactly what the message was. When I got over there, I got to listening to this guy speak, and it touched my heart. It really bothered me that, that Christ could die for somebody like me. And I asked the Lord to come into my heart. I don't know, I don't feel like I was necessarily seeking, but I think, as I've heard several say, in fact, Jerry will say of his testimony over the years, that he didn't know why the Lord kept working on him, but he knew that the Lord had been working on him all those years before he actually came to know the Lord.
Time was right at the end of World War II. And the place was the Mariana Islands. The island we were on was Tinian. The government put out a directive for a humanitarian flight. 2 B-29s were going up to Japan. They wanted to drop in supplies in the POW camps. And so we were going to go in at treetop level. We got off pretty good. And it was nighttime when we drove, because the flight takes 15.5 hours. It's quite a long flight. And everybody got settled in, and we weren't going too long, and the side scanner reported that we got a fire in number 1 engine. So the proper thing to do is to hit the fire bottles. And they hit the bromide bottle, but didn't have much effect. At about that time, it says number 2 engine is on fire. They hit the bromide bottles again, and no effect. So the pilot said, well, about the only thing left to do is to dive this thing and blow that fire out. like you blow out a match, you know. But you got a 4-engine airplane there, you go pretty fast. And that's exactly what we did. We went down pretty fast, but we never blew it out. We smashed it into the ocean below us. And, well, it ended up with 1,000 pieces, I guess. And I was in the tail of one of them pieces. Well, everything was on fire. It was hotter than I ever could imagine anything to be. But when I settled in the tail section, there was a little hatch above my head that I didn't realize was there till that time. And I had to roll through that hatch to get out of the fire, because it was melting some of the metal around me. I made a decision to crawl through, to go out that hatch.
When I was going on the top of a dial was operating a radar to call in bogey aircraft or aircraft that was ours that was flying. I knew what they were because they had an IFF, identification friend or foe, and I could tell if they were friends or foes. So I'm in there operating the radar one day, and this went along for about a month to 8 months, and nothing happened. So I'm up on this thing with the crew, and we had a sweep, and I picked this airplane up. It was about 40 miles away from us, and I picked it up, but he had his IFF one, so I just dropped him, and went to hunt other things. While I'm hunting, searching other things, lo and behold, about 20 minutes later, I heard this roar, pilot pushing his throttles forward to get up over the top of the hill. But he pushed the engines front, and I heard the engines go, and then I heard a boom. And he crashed in 25 feet below our radar station. I went running in and called fighter control and said, we have a crash. And I said, I need assistance. I said, it crashed right below our shack. And they said, stay put, we'll be there. So pretty soon later, here comes a fleet of PT boats. And they landed down below, and they came up brought them up to the top. And they had men to try to identify them, but you know what? Survival we wiped out because of the people, bodies that we were finding that had been blown up over, and we didn't know until they got out there that there was 24 men, Army men on board, and one colonel. And the whole crew, and there wasn't one alive because the ones that weren't thrown out of the aircraft fell down over the side of the cliff. The aircraft fell out about 100 feet down, and started to burn. I didn't know that they were going to land in the isthmus, so everybody we just sacked them up and things as we could find them. And they put a tag on them and put them in mattress covers, and they hauled them away.
The decision to go out that hatch, and I believe I was the only one to do that. As I crawled through that hatch, I had to use my arms to get through. And when I would pull my arms, pull myself through, the big webs of skin would fry fast to the plane itself. But I got through there, and you almost got to hold your breath because you'd burn your lungs. But I dove off, and I bet you I made a beautiful dive off of that tail section. And I hit the water, and it felt cool. You know, from that hot gas. Anyway, but it was like going from a frying pan into fire, because I'm going from one fire into another fire, because on the water was all the fire also, and that 100 octane gas is pretty bad. But they told us somewhere along the line, or I remembered somewhere along the line, a fire in the water, you push the flames away from you so that you can breathe. It isn't the hotness of it, and that's pretty hot. It burns up all the oxygen. So I had that to contend with. And I got through the flame, and I looked back and I seen one head bobbing in the flame yet. Don't know who it was, but I seen one head. But I got into a situation where now the waves come into play, because you're not supposed to drink that salt water, but that's all there was. One wave after another come in, and your mouth would burn open, I guess you would say. So you swallowed salt water. Brought it up. You swallowed salt water. You brought it up. You'd like to see where you're at. But you can't, because you never get on the top of a wave. You're always down at the bottom of the wave. And this went on all night too. I was getting with it shaky, and it was shaking so bad that my teeth rattled, I'll tell you. And, well, I didn't know the Lord, so I didn't have the comfort of praying to Him. I was there, but I didn't use it. Went on all night and the next day, and I don't know how far. Time ran out. And out of nowhere, say, I heard someone talk. I couldn't believe it, but I couldn't see because I was at the bottom of the wave. And I yelled the best I could. Couldn't close my mouth or anything. And they says, hold on, we're coming. And there's two sailor boys with no clothes, a rubber raft, come flying over the waves and almost on top of me, and pulled me in and covered me up with the canvas. It took me to a bigger boat. And you know something, when I look back, I never even thanked them fellows. But they took me to this bigger boat, and what do you call the med? Well, I don't know what anyway. But he acted like a surgeon. Picks out his knife and starts at your shoelaces. It goes up one leg and goes out one arm, and he does it on the other side, and you're opened up like a banana. and they get out the petroleum, I guess you'd say, jelly. And he had a paddle, and they paddled me all up with that stuff. Took me to hospital in Saipan, Army Hospital. From there, they flew me to the States. I have a lot of experiences in between here, but he took me to the States, and I went through hospitals clean across the country and ended up in Martinsburg, West Virginia. I was in the hospital there a couple months, and asked, "How do you get out of here?" He says, "Sign your name." Well, I did sign my name.
I would go back to talk to Flo, and we would have, at that time we weren't dating, we were just good friends. And actually she was the sister to my next door neighbor when I was growing up as a kid. When I was in Korea, she made up a little checkerboard on a cork board, and we played checkers the whole time I was there and finished the game when I got home. She would make her move and send it to me, and then I'd make the move and send it back to her. Wow. And so at that time we were considered ourselves good friends, and the Lord was faithful to show me that she was the one that I should be marrying. And so when she said yes, when I asked her, and you'd have to ask her about where it was we got engaged. That's a different story. You'll have to ask her that story. She tells it better than I do.
They answered the call that came from their country to serve, and ultimately, later on in their lives, they came to realize that it was God who led them. It was God who brought them to that point. And God used the circumstances surrounding their service of their country to lead them to Him.
It seems like I'm talking about myself. Well, I am occasionally, because I've been interviewed, and I want other people to know a little bit what can be in front of them, especially if they're younger than I am.
We don't always see purpose right away. The fact is, sometimes it takes years and years. So we have to be patient with God like He's patient with us.
God was in charge of my life, not because of anything that happened otherwise than that, because that opened my eyes to know that it's not anything lucky that happens in my life, because I'm under the framework and under the shelter of the Lord, who gave His life for me.
Of a hymn that I haven't heard for a long time, and it says, some through the water and some through the flood, but all through the blood, And I thought, well, that sounds like my life.
God allowed it to happen in my life. He allowed that incident on that ship to affect my life. Crashing of that aircraft 25 feet below altitude, and gave us a start to see how quick life can change and we have no control over it.
God leads His children, and that's part of that song. That God leads His children no matter what.
I had a lot of situations in my life that I knew it wasn't me that got out of it. It was the Lord that led me out of it. There's nothing lucky in my life. I don't claim luck at all.
Working for the Air Force, I traveled all over the world. America isn't perfect, but you can't match it any place else in the world.
Our country seems to be going downhill, but I'm still proud of it for what it stands for, not always for what it's done.
We don't know what we have, and we don't appreciate what we have. I am a staunch American. To me, America is my country. Be diligent about your knowing what America stands for and standing for what America stands for.
I believe that we as a nation need to remember where we came from. And it's so good to hear the testimonies of these men and from their perspective be called back to have a time of revival in our hearts, in our homes, in our church, and I pray in our country. Abraham Lincoln said this: "We have been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. We have been preserved these many years in peace and prosperity. We have grown in numbers, wealth, and power as no other nation has ever grown. But we have forgotten God. We have forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied and enriched and strengthened us. And we have vainly imagined in the deceitfulness of our hearts that all these blessings were produced by some superior wisdom and virtue of our own. Intoxicated with unbroken success, we have become too self-sufficient to feel the necessity of redeeming and preserving grace, too proud to pray to the God that made us." I trust that we will see this as an opportunity to come back to the God who brought us to this point today, and to remember that He alone is worthy of our worship and our service, and to be thankful for those that set that as the standard, as the example, in their service to us, in their service to their country, and in their service to their God and King. May God bless America, and may God bless this church as we seek to serve Him.